Hello, David. Welcome to my semester in review, where I'm going to take a look at all the things that we did throughout the semester and kind of give you a play-by-play rundown of what I took from the class, how I felt about the class overall, and just how much I really enjoyed being in this class with everyone else that was in it with me. So first off, let's start with what we did in class. Started with some forced conceptualization. One of the things that you were very adamant about is that we didn't really know how to do a proper forest diagram, and I would say you were probably kind of right. Of course, we knew the basics already, but you were still able to teach us quite a bit about it, and you had us write the diagrams different ways. So, like force of gravity on bridge, or force of table on bridge, instead of just saying Fg or Fn for the normal force. Which, as you also said, what even is a normal force? Which I tend to agree with because I still don't know, but I can tell you what the force of the table on the bridge is, which I guess is pretty much the same thing. We also did some bridge building, of course, with the GCU project. Our spaghetti bridge are two iterations of it, which I'll get into in a little later. And of course, we had our balloon launcher catapult that just finished up recently, and the results that we had there. And I'll talk about that a little bit later on too. And then finally, the last big thing that we did was we got to play with some new toys during the middle of the semester, which was a lot of fun. And hopefully, we'll get to do some more of that next semester. So, what I really learned in this class was a lot more about forces and how they work with each other. So, this comes back to the force diagrams. I learned a lot more about torque, especially because we kind of got a brief description of what it was in Physics 130 and not 131, sorry, 121. And so it's nice to have a refresher and really build upon that. It was also kind of cool being able to visualize how exactly torque works on a bridge. When we actually put weight on the bridge, seeing it rotate in on itself was kind of cool and a really cool way to visualize how that all works together. And then we learned a little bit more about the design process, having to go through the initial sketches. We had to do a little bit of testing to see what actually works out properly for us. We had to finally do make some design out of nothing and hope that it worked out for the best. And I think for us it tended to work out for the best most times. I also learned that calculus is not always needed. One of the things that you are very strongly opinionated about is that calculus is, well, I don't want to say waste of time, but I mean, kind of, right? Calculus is used to derive the equation, but after that, you don't need it anymore, which I agree with. It's not needed outside of equation derivation, which not everyone needs to do all the time. Unless you're tabbed, then you always need to do that. And I also learned how to work in a team better. I always consider myself a team player. I'm usually one of the first people to say, what does the team need? But it's never a bad thing to have more experience working in a team. That's one of the things I like about this class is that you're always working in a team, whether it's just the people that are in your table if in a larger class or even the entire class. You feel like you get to know them a little bit better because you have all these teams competing against each other. And when they're competing against each other, they also tend to work together and come up with better ideas because of that. So next, let's get a little bit more in depth on the projects that we actually did work on, both the pasta bridge and the catapult. Of course, first we had our first iteration of the bridge, called it Bridge A. That was when we were still Pesto Partners LLC, and that was quite a fun design, mostly my own. We of course built the I don't think suspension bridge is the right term there, but we had the nice high arching bridge that did not do well at all. I mean, the bridge was a lot of fun to build, and it was really good looking, to be completely honest with you. But as we can kind of see, it did not end up too well. It broke before it even held 10 pounds, and its final resting place is probably where it should have gone in the first place. All that time building it wasted by not actually holding anything more than 10 pounds. But this is a really cool example of the forces that we talked about. It was really fun on this bridge specifically. You could see torque really coming into effect when you put the weight down, and the bridge just rotated in on itself and almost imploded. So that was kind of fun being able to actually visualize that. Next up, we got to Bridge B, which is Endless Possibilities Bridge. This one was kind of fun to build too, mostly because it was much simpler and much more hands-on for everyone. I felt like I was making progress faster because really I was. This bridge only took us about a little less than a week to build, while as the other bridge that we made took us pretty close to 3. So in the background, I got going the time lapses that we recorded while we were building it. This bridge took a little bit of patience to learn to build. We had a lot of design changes that probably weren't necessary in the end, but it helped the structural integrity of the bridge, I'm sure. It really was kind of a fun bridge to build and definitely an easy one to build. So it was nice to change of pace from our highly complex large one that we had built. And then, of course, after that, we had our test day with GCU. The bridge performed about what we expected. In the background here, I'll have the video of the bridge actually snapping. Unfortunately, DJ does stand up in the middle of the shot, so it's not the best video, but it's not a bad one either. As I let go of the weight right here, you'll see the bridge start to kind of collapse in on itself. You can already see it kind of slipping in on this one. There you go, hear the brake right there. And there it goes. And there's DJ. There you go. See the bridge clearly break right there. But this bridge was a little bit different on the forces. You didn't really see the whole torque rotation in on itself that you saw with the first bridge we designed. This is mostly because this one was just a hunk of lasagna, so it wasn't going anywhere. There was definitely torque still being applied to it, but it was so negligible that you couldn't see it. And that's kind of cool that you can have a force that we know is there, but we can't really see. And now on to the balloon launcher, your favorite project that you've done for who knows how many years now. Soak to Teach, or in our case, Soak to Moving Teach. This project was a lot of fun to build. I unfortunately forgot to make a slide for building it apparently, but it didn't take us long to build, mostly thanks to the fact that we already had a base that was built, so all we had to do was just modify it to fit our needs. What we did is we added the legs or the support legs that are at the 45-degree angle, and then the rotating pivot top was kind of a cool idea in order to make sure we get the full range of motion on the catapult in order to hit every angle that we need. We probably could have gone with a stationary catapult which had to rotate, but I think this was a little bit more ingenious and it made it easier to rotate it and fire it. And that was kind of the inspiration behind it. We needed something that we could easily aim and quickly aim, and I think that we accomplished our goal with that. Now let's get on to what we all know we want to see with these ones, the resulting videos. So this one, of course, is Tab walking back and forth. We kind of tend to agree this is the most satisfying one right here. Oh, right off the chest. That was a really good hit. And then this next one right here, of course, hits him too. And then here's the third one coming in. And that would hit him too if he was playing dodgeball. So 3 balloons would have hit him, and that was a really fun run. And then of course we had your run, where I'm gonna mute it just because it's a little louder. So if that one missed, and then here you go, right here. Ooh, ooh, does it still hurt? Are you still wet right there? Yeah, it was a really good hit, nice clean hit. Definitely one that I am very proud of. This project was a lot of fun. Took a lot more from it than last semester because we had to include the moving aspect, and so that was kind of nice. The nice thing was we did finish our build so fast that we had no way of that we had plenty of time to finish up and practice it. Here's the video again. And because we had so much time to practice with this, we were able to dial it in pretty well. We didn't start hitting consistently until, I mean, really, we still weren't hitting consistently, but when they hit tab 3 times on that last run I just showed, that was the first time we've actually hit anyone multiple times in a run. So that was kind of cool. That about does it for the projects. Let's move on into the new toys that we learned to play with. We of course had our Glowforge laser etcher, and even though we weren't able to get it exactly how we wanted it, the concepts are pretty fun, and hopefully we'll get more of a chance to work with it in 212 and hopefully 103 also. So I definitely look forward to that, and I hope that we get a little bit more time to work with that and figure it out and really get it down. And then we also got the 3D printer set up. At the time of recording this, I didn't have anything 3D printed, but it's still kind of cool to know that I have that option. And hopefully, at some point, I will get to actually do it myself and not just have you do it. But we will, of course, see what the future holds on that front and go from there. So, now what I really took away from this class are the physics concepts of forces and some other statics concepts. The math itself wasn't too much dissimilar to what we had already been learning in Physics 121 and even some Calc 2. So it was kind of nice to see similar concepts that I already knew. But the forces was like really the big thing. We had to take that pre-test in the beginning. And even though it was more a test of how well you could read, it really kind of put your knowledge of how forces work to the test. And that was kind of cool because everything that I've learned about forces in the past, I don't want to say has been a lie because it hasn't been, but it hasn't been as accurate as it probably should have been. We also learned some more about design concepts, specifically with bridges. I've done a little bit with bridge building in the past, but nothing to this scale and nothing to this magnitude. So it was cool having a nice big project that we had to build. The design process itself is pretty straightforward, but it's always good to go through it and really learn more about it and get more practice with it. And of course, we had our random equipment knowledge. Let's see, this semester I learned how to use a drill press, I learned how to use a PVC cutter, learned how to use the Glowforge, haven't quite learned how to use 3D printer, but I'm sure that'll be coming up soon, as well as how to work the final cutter as well. It really is kind of funny how much random equipment knowledge you pick up just by being in the engineering lab, and I'm sure any other lab as well. So, without further ado, let's get into what grade do I deserve. So, I'm judging my choice based off of the participation in class, the attendance, and the amount of work done. So, for my participation in class, I like to think that I'm very active in class. I'm always in, this kind of goes hand in hand with attendance. I'm always in class. I think I may have missed one class all semester, and that was the innovation challenge presentations, and it was more so because I had some other stuff I had to take care of for a class later that night I had a test in. So it's not the best excuse, I know, but I didn't just ditch just for fun. This is actually, not gonna lie, the only class that I went to every single day where we had a normal class before spring break. So kind of proud of that because I need to start somewhere with my attendance and getting that back on par with where it needs to be. But as far as being active in class, I feel like I'm always active. I'm always helping out. I'm always doing something. I'm not generally sitting around playing games until the last couple days with the water balloons, of course. But I feel like I'm always up there doing something, helping out with a team, just working in general. I don't feel like I have much time where I'm sitting around doing nothing in this class. And then finally, for the amount of work done, at the point of this recording, I think the only assignment I haven't turned in was one of the weekly summaries. So I feel like that's really good for me, especially compared to last semester. And then as far as all the work that I have done, I've done every single bit of work to an A level for what you required. Every single one of my discussion posts has my response, and then my 4 replies to my classmates. And I typically make it a point to really build on what they say, or at least expand upon what they say, in my opinions. And it's kind of fun. I know I've talked to you about these discussion questions before, but they really are quite fun and interesting, and that makes it a lot better to work with because of that. So, with all that being said, I feel that I deserve an A in the class. I feel like I really have done the work to deserve an A, and I feel like just you seeing me in class, seeing how active I am, how much I'm really learning, how much paying attention, I think that you would agree that I deserve an A for this course. So hopefully you do. Of course, I won't know until you publish grades, but I think that's a very fair grade for me to get. So that being said, thank you for this great semester. I know it's only going to be a week off before we see each other again, and you may even think that's not long enough, but yeah, there it is. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you enjoyed having me in class this semester, and I will see you after spring break.